Hey friends, and welcome to Impressions Crochet. Today we're going to do a quick beginner-friendly tutorial on how to create twisted fringe as you see here on my sapphire shawl. So we're going to start by getting us a book that's about 8 to 9 inches long. A hardback book is preferred. It'll make it a lot easier to cut. So you'll hold that first part of the yarn and you'll just begin to wrap around loosely, making sure that you're not pulling on the yarn or creating any extra tension, because you want all of your strands to be the same size when you cut them away. So you'll continue to wrap until you have an amount on the book that you feel comfortable with. You don't want to do too much because it'll make it a little bit difficult to cut it away. So probably about 45 to 60 wraps around the book will be enough, and then you just cut that away. And we're going to lay the book down flat and hold that with the palm of your hand while we're cutting across, and just slowly cut across the bottom of there. And this is why having a hardback book helps, because there's a little indentation in hardback books right up under there that makes it easy to get your scissors behind that yarn. And as you'll see here, when I lift my hand, it barely pulls away. And that's because I did not have a tight tension. If your tension is really tight when you're doing this, it'll bounce back and your strands may not be the same length. So for this particular pattern on the sapphire shawl, I typically pull about 6 strands for each of the fringe tassels. You can select however many that you'd like for the design that you're making. Some people do 6, you may see some with 8. But as I said here, I'm going to be pulling 6 strands away for each one of the tassels that I have here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to pull those away. You want to work on the back side, so you're going to insert your hook on the back side of the work so that when you pull down, you'll have your bump or your knot facing on the front side, and you'll have a beautiful front edging for your project. So insert your hook through the back, and you're going to pull all those strands through. It can be a little difficult because you have a lot of strands on there, so just take your time and pull them through, and then you're going to tighten it down. And stitch markers are really good when you're doing fringe because it pulls the stitches together. So you can mark your stitches as you go before you get to them so that you can make sure you're working in the correct stitch. So you'll just count however many stitches away from your last fringe that you need to according to what the pattern is you're working. So again, as you see here, I'm going to count 6 of those strands, and we're going to create another piece of fringe. And we'll take that and put those 6 strands on our hook, and then we'll carefully pull those 6 strands through that stitch. We're going to take our crochet hook off and then pull those through and tighten them down. And as you'll see, it's very, very easy. This is a really good way to add length to projects, as well as fun texture and a little bit more movement if you like that in your project. So we're going to do that again. I inserted the hook through the back side of the work. I'm going to count off my strands, however many that you need to count off to create your fringe. Loop that fringe around your finger so that you can get that hook through there. Put all those strands on that hook and pull through. Pull the fringe through the loops that you created and then tighten down. And just like that, you've created fringe. And I'm going to do another one for you by removing that stitch marker so that I can go right into that next place that my fringe is supposed to go. So like I said, stitch markers are really helpful when you're doing fringe because the fringe tends to pull the stitches when you tighten that down, and sometimes it can make it hard to see where the next stitch actually starts. But if you don't need the stitch markers, hey, do your thing. And I'll show you one more here, and feel free to rewind the video if you need to see how that's done again. But next we're going to get into twisting the fringe. This is a very fun and easy way to twist the fringe and to make sure that it won't unravel. So you want to separate it as evenly as possible. So you'll twist the yarn under your thumb and index finger towards the left, and then you're going to cross the left strand over the right strand. And twisting that down rolling those strands under your fingers in the left direction is going to help you have a really tight twisted fringe, so that even if someone tries to undo the fringe or a child gets to playing with it, it will not unravel. So as you can see here, I hope you can see how I'm twisting the yarn under my thumb and index finger towards the left. And I'm just rolling it under my fingers so that the yarn it's pretty much twisting a loop before I bring the loops over. So it really helps to create your twist a lot faster, but also a lot tighter and a lot more unison. So again, just roll that fringe under those, those strings under your two fingers, and then leave about 2 inches of string left, and we're going to take and tie a knot right there at the bottom. And you're going to pull that piece through, tighten it down, and make sure that your knot is pulled down and not up too high. And that needs to be really good and tight because you don't want it to come apart. Then we'll find a strand that's pretty close to it, and then we're going to just loop that around into a little knot, just to ensure that our tassel doesn't come undone. This here will really make sure that your tassels will stand up against time. And for your second knot, you don't have to pull too tight. Just pull tight enough to make sure your fringe is secure, but if you pull too tight, you can cause it to be misshapen. And you'll create these beautiful fringe twisted tassels that you see here. All right, so let's do another together. So we're going to separate those evenly, and we're going to twist those strands in between our index finger and our thumb towards the left as we pull that left strand over towards the right. And we'll continue to do that as we go down, and as you see, it'll pretty much twist it up. You'll get like an extra loop twisting in there as you go around, so it kind of twists a lot faster. And just a side note, I meant to add, you'll need like a little weight, so use your book or something that you have that's kind of heavy to weigh your project down, because these tassels tend to pull and you don't want your project to be sliding all over the place. So continue that twisting method until you have about 2 inches of fringe left. You definitely don't want to go down and not leave at least 2 inches, because if you don't, it'll be extremely difficult to tie that knot at the end. So just remember to leave about 2 inches of strands left so that you can tie your knot. And you can always shape it up at the end and cut off that extra length that you have and even everything up. So again, we're going to bring that around, tie our knot here, and pull that strand on through there. And you can use your crochet hook if you need to, but I just use my nails. And pull that through, tighten it down, find another strand that's close to it, that's almost the same length. You'll take that and just create a knot and pull that down. And remember, for the second knot, you don't want to pull too tight because it can cause your twisted fringe, to be misshapen. And that is it. That is how you create the twisted fringe. As you see here, the pattern for the shawl used in this tutorial is available on my Etsy. The link will be in the description. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day crafting.